because I don't want the pressure of, oh, I need to lose this amount of weight by this amount of time. No, I just need to make decisions that are beneficial to my body, because even as I look at like my parents' generation is aging and I just see how things play out, it all boils down to our long-term choices. Going home is underrated. Like being at home, being in your own space is underrated. Going out, like that's fine for a certain season, but like
Right. It's
baby,
like
being
for
at
one
home.
generation, we went from like being heavily disciplined and things like that. Just
Mhm.
like now we're in a stage where we're gonna gentle parent and stuff like that. No extreme really works as effective. It has to be
Right.
balanced. You have to have discernment to know when to use what and vice
I
versa.
think The Chosen has truly taken the growth of like a believer to another level, because
Yeah.
people can now see and feel Jesus in a way that they have not been able to do.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point because sometimes it can seem just like so far off when you're just reading it, but being able to see it come to life, it definitely gives you a better appreciation and understanding, even if it is just a reenactment or what have you of it. Like it helps you to really put yourself in it, like, dang, like Jesus was human, like he was in the flesh, like he had emotions and stuff like that. It's like we know that intellectually, but being able to kind of see it on a screen being portrayed is just different. And I think that even goes into the importance of us being able to like celebrate holy days and stuff like that, because when you're putting yourself in it and you're actually doing the ceremonies, like seeing those things, it gives you a better appreciation. It's not something that you just read about, but you see like this was a remember. It helps you to remember who God is, and we reverence our racial identity
Yeah.
over our spiritual identity. Like you'll do that. You're like, I can't be more, and that's probably one of the hardest constructs to like tear down, especially as Black people, because again, we have this misplaced knowing. Like we want to know ourselves, but if you don't know Jesus, you don't know yourself.
We go public with this right now, like a city on a hilltop. Just deal with people's health stuff going on, and every time you kind of get to the point where you're like, I can't really do much for you. I can pray for you. I can give you whatever advice that I know about there, but I think people really underestimate like what it takes to have a true healthy lifestyle, like overall. I'm talking about like emotionally, like how you deal with your kids and your parents, and the resentment that people let build up over years and don't deal with their like emotional and mental well-being.
Yeah.
On top of physical health, and like, do you even care to make sure that you're like eating right? Like, or is it every time somebody, mentions something, you just like get mad and defensive? Just all of these things that people sort of neglect about health. On top of you really listen to a doctor, but you don't want to eat what God put on earth. It's just a lot of things that end up backfiring. And one of the things that I don't like when that happens is that what it ends up looking like is everybody else has to pitch in and take care of you.
Right. As a result of your actions.
Yes. But
Yeah.
you're the one who did it, and you don't have to live the consequences, but everybody else has to live the consequences of it. So it's like it's just a really unbalanced system that
Yeah.
people take into account.
It's hard out here. Like, cause it's like we know what we should do a lot of
Mhm.
times, but making that decision like constantly and continually is a thing. When it comes to that, because I mean, I'm not immune. I definitely have my own struggles, but I'm just like sufficient is today. Like telling myself
Mhm.
like not get so bogged down of like what would this look like a month from now, 6 months from now. Sometimes you got to focus on here and now. Like how am I going to make it from, making a healthy decision on this day. Because we
Right.
you can self sabotage if you don't. Like you gotta. His mercies are new every morning for a reason. Lean into the mercy that He's given us today to accomplish what you need. To get done and worry about until you can get to that next step. So
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And I literally just got done having that conversation with a friend, because I'm like, she was talking about like, oh, trying to like lose weight and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, well, she was like basically talking about how she wanted to make a plan to lose weight. And I'm just like, yeah, I've kind of gotten off of that roller coaster of having to have a plan, because I'm not going to stick
I
to a
thought you said we
specific
weren't talking
regimen.
about this. Yeah.
You said what?
I say, she didn't get the memo that we weren't talking about that this year?
She did, and what? So how she said it was, how she said it was, my never ending like, what word did she use? Almost like I know the thing that I always say, and I'm saying it again, like, yeah, I do need to get, and I'm like, okay, well, you can do it, that way, but I personally don't even look at it in a particular way because I don't want the pressure of, oh, I need to lose this amount of weight by this amount of time. No, I just need to make decisions that are beneficial to my body, because even as I look at, like, my parents' generation is aging, and I just see how things play out, it all boils down to our long-term choices. Yeah. So like day to day, literally, like you just said, am I making the choice today to make sure I'm getting sunlight? Did I spend time outside? You know, if the sun is nice and shining, you need to go get some of that good vitamin D, because you don't know that by you missing and having an insufficient level of vitamin D over so much time, how that's going to be detrimental to your body. Not just the weight. People look at weight, and that's important. It's an important indicator, but it's not the most important indicator. Am I like walking and move, like literally my movement in my body? God gave us legs to be able to move, and the people who don't are able to move, they want to be able to have that ability to move and have that muscle strength. So like some of the small things that we underestimate with health, I'm really starting to take a harder look at, to say like, no, it's about these day-to-day choices, you know, reducing the amount of sugar, because literally am I not overpowering, but overburdening my kidneys and liver by putting too much sugar in a given amount of time that it literally cannot process. So like just those things, we don't realize how it adds up every day. The same way our faith does. If you're, you know, feeding your faith, if you don't feed it, then you're depleting it. Same thing with your body. You're going to deplete.
Yeah, that's good, because it's like we be wanting to have these deep revelations. We want to be like on fire in prayer and stuff like that for God, but it's like, you read your word today, this week, this month, you know what I mean? Like, it's not just, it don't just come to you. I mean, by the grace of God and the power of the Holy Spirit, like we do, you know, some people have like the ability to retain like scripture, but again, it's a spiritual muscle that you have to build in order to get to that level. So it's like, we want the results. I mean, I've definitely been there, been guilty. Like, I just want the end. I don't want the process. We try to skip the process or whatever, but we see what happens when we do things outside of like God's ordained design and will for our lives. It don't be working out, like, you know. So we just gotta take it one step at a time, and that's definitely, you know, a reminder and encouragement for myself to just, you know, one day at a time, like, you know what I mean? Like, don't get bogged down on the what will I do, you know, a month from now, 6 months from now. What about today? Like, you know,
literally, what did he say in Matthew? Like, today has enough worry of its own.
It's not worry about your life, yeah.
Now, granted, in the grand scheme of things, is it good to have an overarching plan of what you vision or what you want to do? Like, yes, but like we're saying, people miss these little, very minute, small things they just let pass them by, and those are opportunities. Like, I literally have been thinking about this lately. Okay, so when I wake up in the morning, I listen for the birds to chirp. If the birds are chirping, I'm like, all right, it's time to get up. If the birds can get up and they start chirping, they telling me what time it is outside, because literally they start chirping at 6 something in the morning. And I'm like, is it even that much light? I mean, at the sliver of any light outside from when it, you know, from when dawn or whatever is starting, they start chirping outside. So instead of complaining, now half the time I'm tired when I'm waking up, and instead of like complaining or kind of doing it begrudgingly, I'm like, okay, birds are chirping. Thank you that I can even hear the birds. I'm listening for different birds, different types of birds chirping different types of ways, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna take this one moment, and that's a good opportunity to just go ahead and get your day started.
Yeah.
Well, we miss God in every like small area that we can really see Him move. And when you don't pay attention to the small ways, and you looking for big things, only happen literally every blue moon. Literally every blue moon, something huge is going to happen. Now there are people who claim that they live in this area of favor and they receive these big blessings all the time and things always moving. But for the most part, for the average person, big things happen for you every so often, maybe every quarter. Maybe it's something that's just like phenomenal, that's beyond
Right.
normal. But like on a normal day today,
You
I'm
gotta
not
look for little miracles like woke
gonna.
up. You know what I mean? Like you got breath in your lungs. You made it, especially living here in Atlanta. Listen, you made it to your job safely. You know what I mean? You ain't get ran off the road.
Yep.
So it's like having appreciation, like even for like the things that you don't want to do. I don't be want to get up at 5 a.m. to get my day started, but I'm thankful to God that I can get up. You know what I mean? So it's like, and then it's like once you up, it's not as bad. And I feel like that's the process with a lot of things. Like again, going back to this, like we want to skip the process. What else been going on?
Yes, just trying to figure out how to live a simple life. Like it seemed like I was just on the phone before this, and I was telling her that people underrate the how am I gonna say this? Going home is underrated. Like being at home, being in your own space is underrated. Going out, like that's fine for a certain season, but like
Right.
baby, being at home and being just relaxed, simple, like having time to cook and just
Yeah.
do the things that you want to do to prepare your day and enjoy your time. That is very much so underrated, unfortunately. I think the devil's got us, chasing, like almost like chasing a carrot in every direction instead
Right.
of going home. Just go home.
Listen, I feel like the older I get, the more I appreciate like being at home. I mean, my schedule's pretty busy these days, so it's not like I have a whole lot of time to just be at home. So it's like that makes me appreciate it even more. But
Yeah.
yeah, like to quiet the noise, to just be able to be in a safe space and a place where you just comfort. Like yeah, like those things in the world, like they cool, but it's like I feel like they're a lot of times it can be just distractions. You know, when
Yep.
you have the opportunity to just kind of be at home and in space, you get to be quiet, you get to be still. Granted, depending on what your home environment looks like, you know what I mean? But for me, I would say, especially in this season, like it's a blessing in just being able to, have a quiet space, a peace of mind to be able to kind of reflect. And then I feel like also for me in this season, just learning how to continue to steward well, what I have.
Mhm.
So the people had to come today to look at my HVAC system because my neither my heat or my air was working. I had like an error code on the thermostat. So they came, they looked at it, and you know how it is. Like you go in for one thing and you end up finding out all this other stuff. So
Mhm.
okay, cool. So I mean, I was anticipating, coming out of pocket for whatever it was that they needed to do to order to resolve it. Because I'm like, it's been kind of cold here in Georgia, so you don't necessarily need the air right now. Um, for me, I'm being cold, so I'm like, shoot, I can even bump the heat just a little bit, but there's just me. So anyway, I want to go ahead and be proactive and get it done before it gets too hot. Because who wants to be in the house
Mhm.
AC if you don't have to? So anyway, nevertheless, just going through that process, and they telling me like, all the things. So he's like, yeah, you probably want to just get this plan in place, to kind of take care of these things because if you don't now, then you'll end up essentially having to get a whole new system. So
Yeah.
he was, talking about that, and I'm just like, and it's a reminder like to steward the things well because sometimes we wonder like why things are like all in shambles, and this can go whether it's your home or just life in general. We
Mhm.
don't maintain or do a good job of like those day-to-day things, whether it's like storing the relationships well, checking in and stuff like that, and then we wonder why things like just like fall apart
Right.
because you got comfortable in a season. You're just like, oh, it's okay, it's business. You didn't take the time to actually see like what was going on, and as a result, it's like now it's all just done.
Mhm.
So I'm really trying to be a good steward over the things that God has given me, those blessings, those gifts, and maintain them and restore them before, it gets to the point where it's just all broken down essentially.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. Because if you what you yeah, because if you ignore something long enough, like ignoring it does not make a problem go away. You just
Right.
putting it for a later date, and that's not necessarily the best route to go. So being proactive about everything. Yeah. I've been I've been looking at our finances a little bit, and I'm like, look, we need to operate on a cash system. I'm kind of using one of these like Dave Ramsey techniques or something right now, because I'm like, look, only thing I want to see coming out of this account is bills. Everything else, if it ain't food and gas, is variable expensive, it need to be cash. So if we run out of the cash, then we just done. Because I'm tired of looking at the account and trying to figure out where the money done went to. So
no, for real. That's a real thing. I mean, I feel like I have seasons where I steward my money really well, and it's probably like more so if I have a goal and things like that, and then maybe like become more relaxed. So again, I think it just goes back to like maintaining it. So even if you have to put systems in place where you're going back to look at it routinely once a quarter, semi-annually or annually at minimum, just helps you to be able to steward, because the time, I mean, I feel like a lot of times we fall off because once we get back to it, it's overwhelming. I know for me, honey, listen, it gets too overwhelming, I'm just gonna go take a nap and just pray that everything is cool by the time I get it, because it can be a lot, but
yeah,
I definitely understand that, like, just going in and addressing the thing, because a lot of times it don't be as bad. Like, that's what I've learned just in the history of like budgeting and and saving and tackling things like that. We spend so much money, like, what I'm saying, just wasting stuff. Like, I see how people like telling me to this day. I had a conversation recently, and so I was like, oh yeah, I love that digit, man. Just planning or whatever like that. It really just helped help me save all this money. So I'm just like, yeah, just doing simple stuff like put these systems in place. Everything don't have to be like long and drawn out, but just having little systems in place to help you to maintain and steward things well.
That's very true. Yeah, you got to. It's kind of like that, going back to that pain process that we were just talking about. Anything that you're gonna get to at the end, you're gonna have to go through some pain. So sometimes initially we just gotta to set up the system in our lives. It's painful to figure out, well, what doesn't work and what does work, and what's the goal and how do you want to get to it. So it can be painful in them situations too. But I'm just like, look, because I got a goal to build a house somewhere on some land.
Right.
That needs to be debt free. So I got to figure out how to get rid of some debt or something. So and just to have the freedom and to be able to build the passive income, it's like if I'm able to free up money, if we're able to free up money on this end, then it allows for more money on that end, over time. So and it's not like we're not frivolous spenders. So, but sometimes I'm just looking at it like, what happened to them? Because it's just the math ain't math, and we got to go back and do a little different of a system.
Right.
It's
how money go, but no, that cash system is probably good, because for me, I can swipe my card, whatever, cool. But when I tell you, if I have a 20 in my wallet, it's gonna be there. Like, I'll be like, yeah, like I would swipe my card and I still got that 20. I'm like, girl, please. So it's like, you definitely have. I feel like it makes it real. Whoever created credit cards or just cards in general, debit cards, was very brilliant, because it definitely for a lot of people takes away that emotional attachment that you would have to like the physical money, because you can't. It's something about not being able to see it. It kind of makes like the difference for a lot of people. Like, you got to realize, no, it's still money. It's still, you still got to take care of that or whatever like that. And we can even look at that, in our relationships with God. Like, you can't see him, but he there. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to steward it well. It takes a little bit more intentionality because you can't physically see it. So you got to work a little bit harder to remember, hey, this is money. This is a relationship that I have to continue to maintain, type of situation. So
since COVID, people have really just been like, nah, I'm gonna let that go, and I'm gonna look at some things for myself. So people are starting to come into realizing the truth. Even like with 2019, let's say, I saw it was a live on TikTok yesterday, and people were, trying to comment on 2019. Of course, he went viral because of the comment that he made about people need to tell their kids to respect authority, and they have taken that way out of context. And
I haven't seen it yet, but we did talk about it a little bit. So
It like I'm like y'all will take anything and make it be what you want it to be in the end of the day. Somebody could say something so good and so positive and mean it for the betterment of people, and y'all will take it into whatever you want to turn it into.
Yeah. And it just exposes our hearts too, because one of the biggest things, and this is a comment I made. I mean, I do feel like I need more context to know. Like, I mean, I have to watch it obviously to see, but it shows where our identity is. Just like I was just saying, like we reverence our racial identity over our spiritual identity. Like you'll do that. You're like, I can't be more, and that's probably one of the hardest constructs to like tear down, especially as Black people, because again, we have this misplaced knowing. Like we want to know ourselves, but if you don't know Jesus, you don't know yourself.
So you've been watching The Chosen, right?
I'm not caught up. I've only seen like talking about the new season.
The season.
I've only seen the first part of The Last Supper. Dang, that's what I should have done today. I should have went and got.
Oh, so you only saw it. You only went one time.
I've only went one time.
Oh, you gotta wait till it come out now because you done missed the middle. You done missed the middle part.
No, the middle should still be in the movies, right?
Oh, well, it depends on the theater. Yeah, some of them might have both of them still in there.
I don't know why they did it like that, because I'm like, y'all just released it. Like, who can go to the movie every week? Like, come on now.
Yeah, but so then they have an exclusive to where they're going to partner with Prime to release it.
Okay, I feel like somebody told me that.
Yeah, so they have an exclusive with Prime.
Okay.
So it's good. So it doesn't end. I mean, they do the supper and everything like that. Jesus done turned the tables over in the temple. They did all of Holy Week.
I saw that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. On the first but as we've been looking at it, what I really like about this season is I feel like it just hits home so much more about the disciples and what they would have experienced, right? And then like how they took what they experienced with Jesus to a whole nother level because they were able to spread the gospel. Like they literally went forth and did what they were supposed to do. I can only imagine how, like, literally it shows how difficult it would have been to be a disciple, to literally give up your whole life to come and follow Jesus, to follow him around, to see how things are changing with his ministry, how people are following and falling away at the same time. The Pharisees are literally persecuting him and all of the things that are happening. And I'm like, wow, how much do I just don't even really consider? I mean, yes, Jesus is important, right? He is the most important of the whole group. But like, I don't really give much consideration to the disciples until I saw this season. I'm like, I owe them some props because they had to go through a lot.
Right. I don't know. Did I send y'all that video? So I saw this breakdown, like giving a historical context of like the fishers of men, and I just thought it was so powerful how, you know, it talks about like in the Jewish custom they would have certain and it's probably like the wealthy sons, they would go to like apprentice under the rabbi and everything like that, and they had to like really study the word and learn it and be able to memorize the Torah, you know, and things like that, and essentially go through this long process or whatever in order to be considered to work up under that particular rabbi. And so when Jesus comes in and starts his ministry and asks them, you know, to, you know, follow him, it just shows like how different the Lord is. Like, you know, we don't have to be qualified or anything like that. We don't have to be perfect and, you know, memorize all these things. You just have to have a willing heart. So that right there just showed a lot. Like for me, it showed the distinction between like our faith and our works type of situation. Like we try to earn and, you know, appeal to all these things, but Jesus showed us just even in that invitation that he gave, they, you know what I'm saying? So like even the excitement that they probably had, like, because I always wonder, like, why would they just like, let me follow him? But, you know, that's why it's so good to study the word in context, because it's like, you know, them being of a Jewish faith, they knew what it meant to like, you know, follow, you know, the different rabbis and teachers of the faith and things like that. So they may not have understood the extent of what it was, but what an invitation it was. Because it's like, they probably wouldn't have been looked at to go like, you know, study under, you know, rabbi. That was something that was done when they were younger, pre-adolescents and all those things like that. So it's just like God gives us such an open invitation, no matter where we are or what stage we find ourselves in. And he's just like, you just gotta have a willing heart
Yeah.
to serve. So I
Yeah.
love that. I love the way that they kind of broke that down. That was really, really, really powerful.
Yeah, no, that TikTok was super good. I had never understood, that's again, that's why understanding things from the Jewish perspective, and I don't even say Jewish, I will say the Hebrew perspective, because a lot of times in modern times we say Jewish, but it
Yeah.
wasn't that was not exclusive to Jews to only experience that. That would have been a Hebrew culture,
Okay.
Israelite culture, right? They would have all been a part of the promised land, not just Jews.
Yeah.
But for lack of for the modern translation, when we understand the Jewish customs and traditions and Hebrew customs and traditions, now it opens up a whole new world into things. So I love, even, and I know people rag on the Chosen at times, like, oh well, it's not completely biblically correct. They had to add a lot of creativity into it because it's a series and you have to fill in the blanks. Literally, just like we would when we read the Bible, you are literally imagining what would it have been like to live in this time, and to travel from place to place. Like, you have to put those things into context. So I love the creativity of that show, because
And it's like they're not just necessarily pulling things out because, like you said, like you're studying the culture. Like the Bible is also, holy scripture. It's also historical context too. Like we
yeah,
have to realize that. So there are other historical works that can give us a greater context to, even though we may not know the exact thing, like how Jesus woke up to when he went to bed per se. There are some nuances that we'll know because if we understand the culture, we'll know, like during like Passover season, this is what happened from one day to the
right,
next type of situation. So I think sometimes people discount that as
yeah.
well. So it's like,
They feel like you're adding to scripture. No, I'm not adding to scripture. I'm interpreting the context that's not
right,
that's not explicitly stating, but it's still
yeah,
context that's there.
yeah,
And so people, they do that with, I don't care what story you tell. Like, they have the King of Kings that came out, this or is coming out for this weekend or whatever. I
hmm,
don't care whose story you tell, that David series that's on Amazon, somebody is going to criticize the way that film director and producer and actors
right,
have portrayed the biblical account. And
right.
it's just like, can y'all
Were
do
you
y'all,
there?
what,
Like,
were you, how do you know that that's wrong? Like,
right,
not now, one thing I take issue with when people recreate the stories, accounts in the Bible. So there is this one video I've seen of people doing the Red Sea. They crossed the
mm,
Red Sea from Egypt. Moses specifically raised the staff. It
yeah,
specifically states that, right? But you will have people who do reenactments, and they smack the staff on the ground, and I hate that, because
yeah,
you have literally done the opposite of what the scripture explicitly states. Now, when they do stuff like that, I'm just like, okay, you are feeding into the drama that people want to see instead of telling the truth the way
yeah,
that it is, and that's part of the problem when it comes to Christianity, because people get so hyped up on all of these the extras on the lights on the stage and all this type of stuff, instead of paying attention to, like, what does the text say.
right,
But outside of that, like, most of these series, they actually do a pretty good job of, really teaching us in modern times what things would have been like. And I think The Chosen has truly taken the growth of, like, a believer to another level, because
yeah.
people can now see and feel Jesus in a way that they have not been able to do.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point because sometimes it can seem just like so far off when you're just reading it, but being able to see it come to life, it definitely gives you a better appreciation and understanding, even if it is just a reenactment or what have you of it. Like it helps you to really put yourself in it, like, dang, like Jesus was human, like he was in the flesh, like he had emotions and stuff like that. It's like we know that intellectually, but being able to kind of see it on a screen being portrayed is just different. And I think that even goes into like um the importance of us being able to like celebrate holy days and stuff like that, because when you're putting yourself in it and you're actually doing the ceremonies, like seeing those things, it gives you a better appreciation. It's not something that you just read about, but you see like this was a remember. It helps you to remember who God is and what he did, like, and they literally follow these instructions so their lives can be spared. God passed over them. Like, it's not, like, that's a big thing. You know what I mean? Like, they could have been wiped out. Or what have you. So I think it's important for us to even, just as a body, do a better job. I mean, even for myself, I haven't really participated, but it is something I want to be more intentional about and put a plan in place to begin to, like, I've studied a little bit about holy days, but actually, like, participate. We can have a cultural awareness of these things, and walk in it. I think it'll give us a better reverence and respect for, our history. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Right. Yeah. It does. It gives you a whole different outlook when you start to, of course, study and then practice what is done, not in the traditional sense, but like literally biblical, historical sense of like, this is what it means. It brings so much, a whole different level. So, and that's what makes me upset, because when I started celebrating Passover last year, like understanding the significance of this is like the most holy day of the year. Now, of course, um, I guess technically it's not the most holy day because it's not the oh, what's the day when they atonement? It's not the day of atonement, which would probably be considered, which is the day where they slaughtered the goats and lambs in atone, like literally sent that's the whole thing where you send the black sheep out and it atones for the sins of Israel. Like that was the day of atonement. But I would still argue that like something like Passover is still the most holy feast of all of them. Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread is together because of the significance. For one, it was the first one. So it was the first ever feast day time that was appointed to the children of Israel, and the significance of what it symbolized. First of all, God changed the new year for them. This was the mark of something new for them.
Yeah.
And it was a whole new start into them being able to fully trust and embrace the promise that God, the promise was fulfilled at that moment when they're coming out of Egypt. Like, I'm sending y'all into the promised land. Now we know they took them 40 years to get there. That was because they was mumbling and groaning, and he was like, "You're not going." However, like that was a whole moment in time, and we're supposed to mark and remember that. And so it's a whole nother level of understanding that comes when you start to practice what they did. Why do we have bitter herbs? Why is it a lamb? Why is it unleavened bread? What is the act of removing leaven from your home? The blood on your door. Like, I did a video right before Passover.
Okay.
And so I did it on TikTok. It's gone viral because it's almost at 1 million. I got to go back and check, but it's almost at 1 million.
Look at it. I was gone, like,
I was showing how I was literally. So I have this cloth on my table. I'll show you this red cloth. Let me take it out real quick. I have this like red cloth on my table, so it was like a table runner. But I also put one over the door. The top is on a little bit of the size of the door to show, girl, it's all kind of comments in it. I stopped even commenting because I'm like, y'all are so misinformed. It's a lot of people who was like, oh, thank you for sharing. Oh, what is Passover? So like bringing awareness to literally celebrating the moment. You got idiots talking about you need to slaughter. You're supposed to slaughter a lamb. Who finna go out here and slaughter a lamb and put it on like make it? It's supposed to be your blood. Are y'all crazy? Like, and those are of course few and far between. You got a lot of people who are talking about how, oh, that's idolatry. Oh, y'all will make anything an idol. Oh, well, we don't do Passovers.
But you read your horoscope every day. But okay,
you read your horoscope every day, and do y'all not know that when he got arrested, he just got done with his Passover meal? So like, my whole point in doing the video was to show how we don't celebrate Passover. Why don't we celebrate Passover or even know about Passover?
Yeah.
And that it's okay to embrace your tradition. So if you choose to celebrate something, if you're choosing to be biblical, it's okay to I would say it's adding my own flavor to it. Nobody has to put anything right at their door. It was just an act of me saying, hey, for me in my house, this is our symbol, right? Yeah. So people are either extremely religious or just so oblivious to what their faith is actually comprised of that they just miss it. they miss it altogether, and I could see how they just gonna miss Jesus when he comes because y'all
I
just
mean, they missed them the first time, so you
yeah.
know what I mean. So yeah, like you said, it's just a good reminder for us to like. Of course, it's not necessarily mandatory per se, but why would you not want to? I mean, of course, we're not going out here slaughtering lambs like Jesus was the lamb that was slain. Like that has been done. We do it in remembrance to
Yeah.
remind us of what our ancestors were brought out of. Like it's not, and then again, think cultural context is relevant too to that time frame. What they had access to, we don't necessarily have that same access or whatever like that. We have different things, so.
Yeah, and
I
he
mean,
didn't command us either. Like in the remembrance of it, he says to go slaughter the lamb, but he never said to paint your door again. You know what I mean? So like people miss it. Then they talk about, oh, you can't do it because you're not in the land of Jerusalem. He said celebrate it from generation to generation
yeah.
in the land that I will give you. It does not exclude it from being in Jerusalem. Yes, that is the promise. That is in the promised land. However, guess what land we in now? And guess where he live? He live in us.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? It's not confined any longer to a particular land. Like, oh, people are so I'm like, y'all gonna miss it. Y'all gonna be it's gonna be right in your face and you're gonna miss it just like they did then.
Listen, Lord, get your people. Okay, we see why, and it's so because even like you mentioned, like the cleansing of the temple when Jesus threw like the tables and stuff. Something that my pastor mentioned when he was teaching one week, it was like he said it was the second time, and I didn't realize that. So like in the beginning of his ministry, he went to cleanse the temple. Now, mind you, this is a 3-year period, and so at the end of that, he went and cleaned the temple again. So it's like, how soon do we, forget? So I think like having these things in place help us like to remember, because a big part of our identity now is trying to figure out where you belong, what do who do you belong to, all those type of things. And I'm also even just so fascinated by like people that are adopted, and I may have shared this before, because it's like you could have had an idyllic childhood and everything like that is perfect. 8 times out of 10, maybe even 9, you still want to know like about that. So we have this yearning, this growing. I'm sure it's by design. Like God is, there's a knowing that is innate in us to want to know who we are. But a lot of times, unfortunately, because of the things of this world, we misplace that knowing into other identities that God hasn't assigned for us. So
That's a good point. Yeah,
yeah,
that's true. That's right.
I just say all that to say is like we reverence our racial identity so much that we put that above anything. Like it's an idol. Like y'all, come on now. We can't be, all these cops are killing all these black people. Half of the stuff that's been sensationalized on the news is not the real picture. And I mean, that was a hard thing for me because I mean, during the pandemic and just historically, I've done protests and things like that. But then when you hear this actual stories and what's taking place, it's like, wow, everything the media has an agenda. Everybody, they play on our emotions to get us to do certain things. And it's like once you kind of realize those things, it helps you to get out the matrix because it's a serious thing. Like, yes, injustice does exist. But everything is not racially fueled in terms of injustice. Some things are just not what they appear, like it's been presented to you in that way so that you play on your emotions and do the things that they want you to do.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Um, like you said, it's a really hard idol to let go of because you have to realize that it has become an idol. It has been portrayed that way. So we have you've eaten that Kool-Aid or drunk that Kool-Aid since birth. You know what I mean? That it's these things are racial. When
And you can't throw it away too, because it's like I'm
yep.
still black. You know what I mean? So it's like one of those complex things. I feel like that one, and then also like when it comes to like food and stuff like that, because like is one of those are two things that you have to continue to deal with and develop new habits and a new relationship around it while existing outside of the norm of what you've been told. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so it is definitely a challenging one, but God is faithful.
And when you let go of it, you really start seeing things from a completely different lens. Unfortunately, though, you've had to either let people go or relationships have sort of been strained in the process because people are not understanding that you have a whole new mindset. That's when he tells us to renew our mind. And when you renew your mind, you literally have to let go of a lot of the physical things that are holding you back and distracting you. um and let's be honest, when it comes to Black people and the crime that's happening, don't talk to me at all about what an occasional police has done in whatever time frame we're talking about, compared to the amount of lives that we take of ourselves and what we allow them to teach us and allow them to do to us. We're allowing ourselves to sell drugs in our own community and tear down our own communities. We tearing up our own schools. We allowing our kids to go to school, beat up teachers, and just run amok, in public. Like, we're doing these things to ourselves. We're shooting our own self. Like, we're doing that. They're not making us do anything. And I'm not saying that one is more important than the other, but when you talk about numbers, these numbers that we're doing to ourselves outweigh everything. And the point that he was making in the sermon, he was talking about his own personal experience on how he had to shut his mouth to make sure he could walk away alive because a cop had a gun to his head. So he was not ignoring that, hey, you can get retaliated against or you can get targeted. But he's saying, if you learn to keep your mouth closed and you just submit and you don't say anything, it's better because you can keep your life. You can always go and fight for what's right if you have your life to fight for. But some of us just open our mouths and just because we want to, be in pride or stand 10 toes down and advocate for ourselves. Sometimes we advocate for ourselves in the wrong moments and we end up on the side of the road and there's nobody to tell the story other than the cop that was there because we're no longer alive. So you have to learn how to be quiet. And he was not wrong.
Or the media that tells a story.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because even think about like after Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection, and the disciples are going out and they're preaching and stuff like that. They know the truth of what happened.
Right.
But they wanted to lock them up. Who was it? They wanted to lock Peter, and who else was preaching?
Oh yeah, Peter and John. They was in Acts. They was going to the temple. Remember?
Yeah, and he's like, stop telling that story. You know what I mean? Like they will suppress the truth. Like,
yes.
like now, like y'all stirring up too much now. You know what I'm saying? Like because nobody wants to necessarily hear that I was responsible. That's not the sensationalized story. The fact that I was acting reckless. I was high out of my mind on these people, these famous cases of where Black people have been killed. And stuff like that. People hide out of their mind and stuff like that. And like that nobody wants to hear that story. You want to hear how they were victim or whatever. So I just say all that to say is like they will try to suppress the real story so that you can be all angry and upset.
Yeah.
To push whatever agenda that is that they have.
Absolutely. And even in that example of Peter and John, I think it was Peter and John were going to the temple. Hold on, my room. Even in that example of Peter and John going to the temple, the story, the narrative that was amongst the people, the large narrative that was amongst people was still what the media at that time was pushing, which was Jesus didn't rise from the dead. Somebody went and removed him from the temple. Like that is still the story that is perpetrated throughout the Israelite and Jewish cultures. They still literally believe that because they don't believe that Jesus was their savior. So they think somebody else is coming. So think about how powerful the media was then. That they got to control the narrative. Now it wasn't overpowering, obviously, because you got millions of Christians around the world. So that the other story was still able to the truth was still able to get pushed out. But they have a big control over our mind. And as soon as you let them go, you can get to the truth of really what the word is. And it doesn't take a lot to understand and discern what the truth is. You just have to turn off the distraction so you can actually sit with the information, sit with the facts in front of you every time and evaluate the facts. Don't let these emotions come in and make decisions.
Yeah. And the full story helps you be able to make a more clear and concise decision too. Cause like, if you see stories about people that may be Jewish, but not of the Messianic Jewish sect per se. Like, I mean, what is it? They just typically read like the Torah and stuff like that, and things like they didn't have the full context of like they don't really subscribe to the New Testament. If I'm, understand it correctly. So it's like sometimes you need those pieces to be brought together, and that helps you to make an informed decision about, is what I believe like foundationally sound, or is it like skewed one side because I've only been given access to this one particular part of a thing. So just being able to know, like, it's so dangerous to make assumptions, like even like because I know at one point, I think it was like on Facebook, like how people just repost stuff, but it'll ask you like do you want to post like something essentially like have you read or, like reading it before reposting it, like it'll prompt you or something like that. So a lot of times we'll take headlines and stuff like that, but have you even read the article? To find out the context of it. So it's like, yeah, sometimes you just gotta dive a little deeper. Everything is not just like surface level. People lie so easily. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of lying, NASA, get back at it again.
They done fooled us into thinking that the people had opened the time capsule. I didn't even the time when they sent the time capsule to space.
First of all, they said like a 10-minute trip or something. I'm like, what is going on? Like, first of all, what kind of money do y'all have? Like, to be sitting, how they make it to space in 10 minutes and come? I just have so many questions.
I guess it depends on what we define as space, because anything above the stratosphere, I suppose, is
the first one being, how dare y'all? Like, if all nobody act, my thing is nobody asks for. You know how frustrated it is when somebody come to you for unsolicited lie. Like, I didn't even. I'm like, okay, like nobody is asking y'all to do this stuff. Like, please stop. Like, it's so many other things that y'all can be doing.
So many other things that can be so much more helpful to people, but y'all trying to go to space and get people to pay $150,000 for a deposit to go to space.
Y'all never make it because God did not give us dominion. So
He did not give us dominion. And here y'all are trying to be Tower of Babel in real life, trying to go to space. It's too
good, right? You will never see that outer space. You will never see the depths of the ocean. Have fun, okay? Have fun if you may.
Yeah. So, Apple TV has Fly Me to the Moon.
Okay.
So we're watching it, right? He wanted to see it. He thinking it's going to be a great movie. So I'm like, I said, "Oh, you mean that movie where they fake going to space?" I said, "Oh, that movie you mean when they fake going to space?" So he looking at me like, "What you mean?" What? So I said, "You gonna see it in the movie where they have fake going to space." So of course they show it in the movie, but they try to do the twist on it to make it seem like, okay, well, they were doing it in case the real feed it didn't work or whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's what y'all could think, that they really did show you the real thing, but it's because it was such a conspiracy of the conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
it's called theories. Because all these conspiracies were being proven by so many people, they had to do a movie to then like down the noise from these conspiracy theories so that people would still believe that we went to the moon.
No way. Until my phone work in the elevator, I'm not buying it. Like, cut it out. Like, be for real. So
if that's what you want to hold on to, and y'all want to spend millions of dollars for nothing to be able to go to space, why are we going to Mars? Why are y'all trying to go to Mars? Why would you promise the people that? What is it going to accomplish?
Y'all haven't even gotten together. So y'all haven't even got Earth together, okay? No. Like, let's just leave stuff alone, okay?
Y'all bombing people randomly and trying to stop wars now, and you think going to space is going to help something? No.
Nothing at all.
So it's very interesting.
Very interesting. Yeah, sometimes we just can't receive messages because of the messenger. And again, I mean, everything really leads back to Jesus. If you just open your eyes enough, like they couldn't receive the message because he didn't come in the way that they
wanted him to. Yeah.
So we just need to be mindful. Like, we can't be so set in stone and stubborn that when truth is presented to us, even if we don't like the person that's giving it, that we just totally throw it out and disregard it because it can save so many people. So yeah, I agree. I feel like when it comes to politics, we should just have And I feel like typically on the more conservative side, they tend to be at least receptive to hearing. It seems like even
Yeah,
though you think being more liberal means that you're open to stuff,
it's actually the opposite. It's crazy.
very, very interesting. So it's like we just have to be able to take things in and then filter them with the lens of discernment and stuff like that too.
Yeah,
So um that's the prayer. I mean, but honestly, it just exposes people really, Jenna. They honestly,
for
people don't,
sure.
you want to keep up strife. You're not really you're not
Yeah,
investing in the solution. You're
yeah,
investing in the show so you can pull out your popcorn, you know.
yeah.
So yeah.
That's a great point because that's exactly how they operate.
Right,
That is the great point because that is their motive. It's not to operate on one accord. It's to
right,
continue with dissension. It's to continue to have a house divided. You know what I mean? Versus any
literally,
area we can unite on, like literally a house divided.
right.
So it's annoying. It's very
But y'all have
annoying.
opportunities. Like nobody talks about how when, you know, the Democratic parties they have majority in the House or the Senate, these same bills that y'all like, oh, well, this person didn't pass it. You had control. What did you do? Nothing. Okay, cool.
Yep, yep.
It's
And
like
so,
fake. This righteous indignation for
mhm,
just it's fake.
yep. You can miss me with all of that. So, yeah, hopefully people see the truth more and more and more um, in every, arena that they can because the way that the enemy wins with emotions is very eye opening. Like,
Yeah,
but you would think that he would not be able to have this much control over people's logic, but as we can see, emotions win over logic most of the time when you don't have the mind that you're supposed to have, and people are under this illusion that they do have the mind of Christ because
yeah.
they say that they believe in God, but your emotions are controlling you, and that's I'll end with this last point. I was randomly on YouTube, and there was a clip of apparently there's this panel that goes around and they do like conversations or whatever. And there
Mhm.
was this lady who was saying, like, well, why is it every time that there's a conversation about a side chick, it's always
Stop
negative?
it.
Ma'am, and she got told, ma'am, first of all, you're disrespectful to the entity that God has created. And you want there to be something positive because you feel like you're getting the best of this man. You're destroying a home. And then when she got asked the question, do you believe in God? Because my answer has to come from the perspective of faith at the
Right.
end of the day. So you're telling me you believe in God, but yet you're standing there asking a question
What
about
God do you
God.
believe in? It's
Like,
not the God of the Bible. I'm
how
confused.
incongruent is your belief? Because you really think that you being a side chick is okay, and this man is married, but
In a
you
whole covenantal relationship. Like standing on covenant. You know what I mean?
you better be glad that that woman hadn't prayed your downfall and your death. That's what you better be glad, because she
That's right.
got the right to with the way that you carrying on and like intentionally just destroying something. It mind boggles me. So like that is the level of incongruency that people have, when it comes to faith. Like you can say you believe in something
Yeah.
one way, but do the complete opposite the other way, which is why we have to be fruit inspectors because we got to check the fruit every single time.
You rely too heavily on grace. It's like, and God is gracious. He's rich in mercy and all those things, but he's also a God of justice. So you know what I mean? Like he has to enact his justice.
Yep.
Is really in his mercy that he's keeping us so that we can all come to repentance. But he's not slow in keeping his promises. Like it's for your sake. So yeah,
Yep.
prayers just for us, you know, as the body of believers to get an understanding of who God is, not just having this one sided like he's not just, you know, the lamb, he's also the lion, this duality. He's also a father. I mean, and fathers, you know, they nurture, but they also discipline. They
Right.
correct, they rebuke. You know what I mean? They give you comfort and protection. It's not a one side thing. We
Right.
have these multiple characteristics that should exist together, and so
Absolutely.
when we lean on one side more than another, it really makes you deficient and weak in another one. That's why we have a lot of issues with, you know, children and stuff like that with entitlement. It's like for one generation we went from like being heavily disciplined and things like that So it's like now we're in a stage where we're gonna gentle parent and stuff like that. No extreme really works as effective. It has to be
Right.
you have to have discernment to know when to use what and vice versa. You can't just throw out one of them because you know your trauma from the past, you know, had you to lean into
Exactly.
side. So yeah.
Exactly. And now, and it's like really, so what you're telling me with that is you're really doing it out of a fear,
Right.
because of what happened. And you don't want that to happen. So it's a fear-based decision. Look what's gonna happen. It's just just give me my kids and we're gonna go to somewhere. Just be on the homestead by ourselves because I gotta have an escape from the world because this is too much to deal with half the time.
So I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do when I have my kids. So I'm gonna have to send them up there. So I guess we do virtual.
Something, honey. You gotta
Yeah.
figure it out. But God is good. He keeps us. Cause boy, I can tell you that if I didn't have him, who knows where we'd be? My mind be gone. Cause there's no way. I don't know how people maintain their sanity in this type of world on their own. I don't get how they do that.
I don't either.
Cause I would have been gone by now.
And that's why a lot of people, you know, out of their mind because they.
Set apart, love, know who we are. This is time, and it's ours. Let's take the night by storm. We'll make the streets our own. Let's tell